Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're going to peek behind the curtain and get right into what makes the world's best tech teams tick. We're talking about how they actually build and ship software.
So here it is, the billion-dollar question, right? You see these companies pushing out new features constantly, and you have to wonder, how on earth do they move that fast without everything just falling apart? It feels like magic, but I promise you it's not. It's a very deliberate mix of culture, principles, and tech that we're going to break down layer by layer.
First things first, and this is by far the most important piece of the puzzle. We have to start with the foundation. See, before anyone writes a single line of code, before any servers get spun up, there has to be a shift in mindset. This is the why that powers everything else.
And this quote from Atlassian's Christophe Capel just nails it. That old way of doing things, where developers would finish their code and just kind of throw it over the wall to the operations team, yeah, that's over. In the teams that really perform, everyone, and I mean everyone, is responsible for quality and reliability. It's a team sport.
So what even is this DevOps thing we're talking about? Well, the DevOps Handbook gives us this really clean definition. And the keywords here, the ones you really need to pay attention to, are cultural norms and technical practices. You absolutely cannot have one without the other. It's all about creating an environment where people talk to each other and work together, and then you supercharge that with the right tools.
The whole philosophy really boils down to what the handbook calls the 3 ways. So the first way is all about flow, just making work move as smoothly and quickly as possible from an idea in someone's head to a real feature that users can touch. The second way, that's all about feedback, getting information from the live system and your users back to the developers fast. And the third way is about building a culture where it's safe to experiment, to try things, and to learn from your mistakes.
Okay, so we've got the culture part down. But how do you actually put that into practice day to day without causing total chaos? Well, that brings us to our next layer, the core principles that let you have both speed and safety. They're not mutually exclusive.
A huge one is this idea of shifting left. Okay, picture your whole development process as a timeline, reading from left to right. In the old days, all the testing and security checks were piled up at the very end, right on the right side, just before release. Shifting left just means you move all that stuff as early as possible. And why would you do that? Well, because finding a bug or a security hole on day one is incredibly cheap and easy to fix compared to finding it an hour before you're supposed to launch.
And this slide shows 2 perfect examples of shifting left in action, SAST and DAST. Think of SAST, or static testing, like a spell checker for security. It scans your actual code for problems before it even runs. DAST, or dynamic testing, is more like hiring a friendly hacker to poke and prod your running application to see if they can find any weaknesses. The best teams build both of these right into their automated process.
Now, to manage the inherent risk of releasing new code, teams also borrow a ton of brilliant ideas from site reliability engineering, or SRE. These are techniques designed to make releases safer. You've got feature flags, which lets you turn new features on or off for users without having to redeploy the whole application. Or canary releases, where you roll out the new version to just a tiny group of users at first to see what happens. And if something does go wrong, automated rollbacks can instantly switch back to the version that you know works.
Now this is one of my favorite SRE techniques, and the analogy is just perfect. With a blue-green deployment, you have 2 completely identical production setups. Let's call them blue and green. All your users are on the blue one. Meanwhile, you deploy your new code to the green one, test the heck out of it, make sure it's perfect, and then you just flip a switch. All your traffic instantly goes to the green environment. It's the ultimate safety net for releasing major changes with 0 downtime.
So, we've covered the culture and the principles, but where does all this software actually run? Let's peel back one more layer and look at the actual technology foundation that makes all this amazing speed and flexibility a reality.
And the answer, to absolutely no one's surprise, is the cloud. I mean, just look at these numbers from early 2023. The market is completely dominated by the big 3: Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud. Their massive, on-demand infrastructure is what lets teams go from, I have an idea, to, I need 100 servers to test it in just a few minutes. So why would a team pick one over the other? Well, it often comes down to their specific needs. If you need a massive global reach in a super mature ecosystem with a tool for everything, you probably go with AWS. If your company already runs on Microsoft Everything, Azure is a no-brainer. And if you're doing really heavy data science or want the best Kubernetes experience, a lot of people will tell you Google Cloud is the way to go.
Now, running on top of that cloud infrastructure is containerization. For years, Docker was king. It was the only name you heard. But what's really fascinating now is the rise of alternatives like Podman. The key difference is pretty technical, but it's important. Docker uses this central process, a daemon, to manage everything. It's powerful, but if that one thing fails, all your containers fail. Podman, on the other hand, is daemonless, which gets rid of that single point of failure and is generally seen as more secure.
Okay, we've reached our final layer. We have the culture, the principles, and the foundation. Now we need the engine, the thing that actually puts everything into motion and makes it all happen automatically. This is the world of CI/CD, or continuous integration and continuous delivery.
This diagram is a great picture of a CI/CD pipeline. It's basically an automated assembly line for code. The second a developer hits save and commits their code, this whole process just kicks off. It automatically builds the software, runs every single test, including those SaaS security scans we talked about. And if everything looks good, it gets the code ready for release. This is the automation that brings the flow from the first way of DevOps to life.
Now, when it comes to the actual tools that build these pipelines, two names really dominate the conversation. You've got Jenkins, the old school, incredibly powerful standard, and GitHub Actions, the newer, slicker challenger. And they have totally different philosophies. Jenkins is something you host yourself, and it's infinitely customizable. GitHub Actions, on the other hand, is built right into GitHub, and you configure it with these simple text files that live right alongside your code.
And you'll hear developers make a really strong case for Jenkins. Just listen to this comment from Reddit. For really complicated workflows, where you have different jobs that need to trigger each other and pass things back and forth, a lot of people argue that the raw power of Jenkins is still just unbeatable.
But then you hear the complete opposite. For so many teams, the headache of actually running and maintaining their own Jenkins server is a huge pain. And you see comments like this one all the time. Teams are moving to GitHub Actions because it just works, it's simple, and they never have to worry about managing another tool again.
So we've covered a ton of ground, from high-level philosophy all the way down to specific command line tools. Let's zoom back out for a second and put all of these pieces together into one single, coherent model. Let's call it the modern software pyramid.
Here's the blueprint right here. It all starts with that big, wide base of a DevOps culture. On top of that, you apply the principles for speed and safety, like shifting left and SRE. That layer is then built on top of a flexible foundation of cloud and container technology. And at the very peak, driving the whole thing forward is the engine of CI/CD automation. You can see how each layer supports the one above it. You can't have the top without the bottom.
And that really brings us to the final, most important thought. You know, the tools are amazing, the principles are solid, and the cloud platforms are right there for the taking. You can automate your pipelines. But the real question, the one that really separates the good teams from the truly great ones, it has nothing to do with technology. It's about people. Is your team really ready to embrace that cultural shift that makes this whole pyramid stand up? Because that's the one part you just can't automate.